Hi everyone and welcome back to the Couch Buddies. And tonight we will have Moldy VR.
And we're gonna be stuck on a loop, stuck on a loop, stuck on a loop, stuck on a loop.
Welcome back to the couch.
Welcome!
Oh yeah! Warm welcome to everyone. We have a nice couch tonight and we will be stuck along the way. Won't we, DJ?
Yes,
and I won't ruin it anymore.
But what do you mean we have a couch? Like, it's like we have a couch. I mean, we have a couchy zone, okay?
Yeah, but you have a couch back there.
Well, but that's another couch. That's not the couch that we are going
yeah.
to be talking about here today, or the couch that we usually, sit on and stuff like that. But there, let's just go ahead with that.
Let's just
stop it.
carry on.
Yeah.
So,
indeed,
you know what time it is? It's time for games with mold.
I was going to say that it's time for you to buy a clock, because if you have to ask, it means that you don't have one, or a watch.
Now, if I ask the time, it's hammer time.
Can't touch this. Oh, we get copyright strike now by singing. So
Damn it!
be careful
Damn
about
it! But let's dive right into it then.
Yes, let's go.
And let's go to 1994. Shall we?
Shall we? Shall we?
Shall
Yes,
we?
we shall.
Shall we?
Yes, we shall. You shall very
To the
much.
Mega Drive, or the Genesis, as some would call it in the US. And let's play a game called Virtual Bart.
Okay.
I bet you've played this one.
Not really that much, no. And honestly, if I did, it was definitely not on the Mega Drive, but on the SNES.
Probably. Well, it looked better on the SNES. I played it on the Mega Drive, but it sounded better on the Mega Drive. Oh,
Well,
yes, it did.
I guess I would have to agree, but I didn't really play it that much on the Mega Drive.
But basically, this was a Simpsons game, an odd Simpsons game at it. You would just play with Bart mostly, and it was a series of mini games, a real series of mini games, because you had Bart getting a VR helmet back then. And if you've tried VR helmets back in the day, you know they had nothing to do, and I mean nothing to do with the ones you have today. And so you had Bart with this VR helmet. You would spin on a wheel with him and just select a mini game to play. From all these mini games, you had one you would turn Bart into a dinosaur, and you'd run across primitive Springfield. And when you ended it, you had Homer frozen in a block of ice in the museum. It was so cool. Then there was another mini game. You'd play as Bart on a bike in a post-apocalyptic scenario, and you would just have to go along the way, avoiding Jimbo and Kearney, and get to the goal, get it through the checkpoints. It was a simple game.
I don't get it. Why it's always like the Simpsons games are always about ridiculous themes, like Bart versus the Space Mutants, about the aliens. I mean, I know that the aliens were part of the episodes themselves. I know, but it's always crazy topics like post-apocalyptic stuff, and I just like miss normal Simpsons games like Simpsons Hit and Run. Like, for example, that is a normal one, I would say, but that's way after the 16-bit
normal in
era.
quotes.
yeah, indeed it is. But yeah, I think it was. I remember it being a great game. I didn't play that much, to be honest. As I said, I didn't have any consoles, or at least the 16-bit ones.
Yeah.
That we're talking about. I recall playing this probably at a cousin's house or a friend's house. I not really remember.
It was cool.
exactly.
You also played this one as a baby and as a pig. It was cool. Then you will have other mini games in this one. People should try it out. It was a cool game.
You
were a pig in the sausage factory, if I remember right.
It's which basically starts the whole spider pig thing like that.
Oh yeah,
came up
Spider
later
Pig
on
is the hero
in
of the
movie.
Simpsons movie.
All right, so let's move on to the next game, and Well, I'm going to bring one of those classic ones that nobody should forget, and the game I'm going to be talking about is Rollercoaster Tycoon from 1999. This was developed for released for Windows, and this was developed by Chris Sawyer and published by Hasbro Interactive. Now, you know, after the resounding success of Theme Park in 1994 and inspired by an almost unknown MS-DOS game from Disney called Coaster from 1993, Rollercoaster Tycoon brought us a theme park management game that, although was not as successful as the classic Bullfrog title, Theme Park, it was Chris Sawyer's successor to the acclaimed Transport Tycoon. Now, following the same gameplay style to its predecessors, Rollercoaster Tycoon looks and plays as polished and addictive as to any other games of the series. The premise here is to manage an amusement park where we start with a series of preset scenarios where we have to put our best suit of entrepreneur and manage that amusement park. From dozens of roller coaster types that look very realistic to log fumes, carousels, bumper cars, haunted houses, you name it, you could build anything that you wanted in this park to make sure that, you know, all your customers or all your clients or whatever people would be visited would have as much fun as possible. Now, not only we have to take into account the condition of the park by hiring handyman to sweep floors, empty trash, water the plants, but also we will need to have mechanics around to fix the rides, security guards to make sure that everything is in order, and some entertainers to keep the guests happy as possible. As if, you know, riding a roller coaster that almost throws up or throws out your entire lunch isn't funny enough. So it's a strange concept here. But again, back to the game. There are 21 scenarios included in the original game and 60 more in 2 expansion packs that followed. Corkscrew Follies was released in November 1999, and Loopy Landscapes, another expansion, was released in September of 2000. Now, despite not being as successful, as I said, as Theme Park, that sold, you know, 15 million copies, much because it was very, very popular in Japan, Rollercoaster Tycoon, it's one of those games that I feel that it's very, very underrated. Theme Park was a great game to me, I mean, no doubt about it, but it was very focused on business management of the park itself and less on creating the actual rides. Additionally, the rides that you would see on Theme Park were very juvenile, and while, you know, on this one you might have the possibility of customizing them and to absolute detail and have something a little bit more thrilling, I would say, because that's the thing. I mean, this was really based on the concept of Transport Tycoon, and if you remember, like Transport Tycoon, Railroad Tycoon, and so on and so forth, it was very, very detailed what we could buy back then. Even on Transport Tycoon, I remember the locomotives and the planes were all very, very realistically detailed, you know, to the extent of the possibilities at that time. And in Theme Park, it seemed like you just, you know, put something there, make sure that people would attend it, you would manage the happiness of your guests and stuff like that, or your customers. But the truth is that Rollercoaster Tycoon was way, way more detailed in that, especially when you could actually go in and customize the rides themselves as much as you wanted. Last but not the least, the soundtrack of this game comes from the one and only Alistair Brimble. We already mentioned him on the channel several times, and is one of the most famous composers of the Amiga scene and many other platforms. For 4.39 euros, you can actually buy this one in GOG, but the Rollercoaster Tycoon Deluxe Edition, that includes the original game and the 2 expansion packs that followed. Now, this was one of those that I spent a lot of time playing. There was many sequels to this game. Rollercoaster Tycoon 2, 3, Rollercoaster Tycoon 3D. There was also several mobile releases for this game, as well as many other Tycoon games that came out. And there was even an open source clone of Rollercoaster Tycoon. I don't really recall the name, but I'll try to put it on the description. That was released later on, and you could actually use resources from the original Rollercoaster Tycoon game, and as well as, you know, create your own theme parks, as well as having a full-blown sandbox mode, which was not really present on the original game because they only had scenarios available, and there was not such a, let's say, full-blown sandbox mode where you can just build whatever you like and use all the map and so on and so forth. So a very great game. I loved it a lot, and I think that it was kind of shadowed by the fact that it had many similarities with, you know, Theme Park from Bullfrog, which is, as I mentioned, was a great success. but very underrated, and I think it's totally worth it to play it. And you guys will find out the differences between both of them, and will understand how many of them are really much more mature. In the rail, sorry, I keep coming back to Railroad Tycoon. The Roller Coaster Tycoon. Yeah, it was also a great game. The Roller Coaster Tycoon game that I just mentioned. So give it a go, guys. GOG 4.39. I think that's the price of what, like
that's
2 coffees.
Steal. It's a great
at
game.
At least in Portugal, right? I mean, I'm probably, if you guys are watching us from any other country like the Netherlands or France, that's the price of a bottle of water. Maybe. Maybe even more expensive. I don't know. All right.
Maybe.
Blade, what are you bringing to us today?
Now for something completely different. Let's go to the N64. 1997. And let's play a game called Mischief Makers.
It's the second time you say let's play a game. You're reminding me of... oh god, I forgot. Yes, Saw. The movie Saw.
I got there.
Let's play a game.
I just need a tricycle so I can...
I don't know that game. What is that? What is that about?
Now this is a game that was developed by Treasure. You know them? They were the ones behind games such as Guardian Heroes and another classic called Gunstar Heroes.
Okay. Well, I mean, those two I know.
These guys have awesome games, and we have to talk about a lot more of their games. This one was a very peculiar game on the N64 because if you remember right, when the N64 came out, platformers and gaming were moving to the 3D era. You had a lot of 3D platformers, and these guys had guts. They went for a 2D platformer. Well,
we just mentioned that a few couch episodes ago with another platformer game that was 2D, Johnny Bazookaton. I mean, we were just discussing about that, right?
No, but you weren't so diving deep on 3D games at the time. But when this came out, well, you had the N64, you had Mario 64, and all the platformers were going that way. And these guys went side-scrolling 2D platforming. It looked 3D. It had depths in some of the scenarios, but the game was a side-scrolling platformer. Well, this was a basic concept. You had a robot called Marina, and you went to save your creator that had been kidnapped. This is the premise of the game. This game has 52 levels. Well, most of them are just cities you actually visit for the story. And if you've never played this one and you grab it, you can only play this on the N64. It didn't come out anywhere else. So you just need an N64 to play this one. And if you do, don't be discouraged at start. This has a lot, and I mean a lot of text at start to get you going. But after you get going, this game is great because it's different from every other platformer you played. You usually kill your enemies, jump on them, do whatever. Not in this game. The only thing you do literally is grab stuff. You can grab your enemies, you can shake them to get some stuff out of them, and then just throw them and use them as ammo. Yeah, and you can pretty much grab everything in the scenario, or almost everything.
Sounds like turtle shells from Super Mario. We just kick them and use them as weapons.
Yeah, no, but this game just uses this grab mechanic, and you can do something cool I've never seen you do in any other game. You can ride a cat and have that cat capture or grab missiles in midair and turn them back to your enemy.
Wow.
This is such a cool thing to do. You have to play this game and get to this scene.
I think if there was a platform that could get away with 2D platformers back then, it was definitely Nintendo. I mean, I mean they were the inventors of the style.
They didn't get away with one of the crappiest games ever made. That was the Superman on the N64. That game was so bad, and I mean bad.
Oh yeah,
it defines bad games.
That one I remember was really terrible.
Not really, but it was beyond that.
We should make a compilation. We should make a a dedicated couch episode to the creme de la crap. You know,
creme de la crap or games to barf.
Yeah,
games to barf.
The cream of the crap. You know, I think we should make an episode about that.
That would be some crappy cream.
Basically, some really like that fighting game from Sonic. I think we already talked about that.
No, we actually had a song for that. We could call it Golden Brown.
Golden Brown. No. Okay, that's a good song. That's actually a good song. Anyway,
it is. It's an awesome song. It is.
Guys, we're gonna close it off today with
Yeah.
a very, very, very special game. It's a game that it's everywhere, and I think personally, if
It's
a
awesome.
game, it's awesome. If it was,
I
a
know
game
what you're talking about, and it's
that-
awesome.
that Uncle Hideo Kojima already mentioned that it was good. I mean, guys, I'm not saying that he's a god, because he is. But the question is, he just mentioned this as a great game. Obviously, I already knew about it, and I played it also. I already actually finished the game. But let me give you an introduction that as a point-and-click fan myself, I need to tell you that this game is worth every penny, and not only because, you know, I'm also particularly proud because the game was created by a Portuguese developer, and it's always this great sense of, you know, accomplishment when someone from our, you know, little piece of land on the planet actually does something this
National
good.
pride.
Exactly, national pride. So, without further ado, 12 minutes, released on the 19th of August 2021, so it was just a few days ago. It was actually, I don't know, 6 days ago. This was released for several platforms, and this was developed by Luis Antonio and published by Annapurna Interactive. Now, I won't spoil much of the actual story, more than what is visible on the trailer, because, so don't worry, this is safe to watch, but because the story is really, really interesting, and you guys have to take a look at it. So 12 Minutes is a top-down perspective adventure game set in an apartment with 3 characters only. Pretty simple, right? No. The fact is that the simplest things that usually hide great mysteries behind it. And 12 Minutes is no exception to that. It's a story of a man that is trapped inside of a time loop of exactly 12 minutes. Now that man, we're going to call him the husband because that's what we will call him during the game, will come home from a day of work, and in the first 10 minutes he will learn that his wife is pregnant, and in the next 2 minutes a cop will show up on the door, storm their apartment, accuse his wife of murder, and kills both of them. And their unborn child because she's pregnant. It's a very macabre story that we could say that came out of a Stanley Kubrick movie, and there's also a reason for that, but we'll touch base on that later. If either the wife, the husband die, or he leaves the apartment, the loop restarts and you will have to do everything all over again. Think about this like building a castle of cards, where the more you try, the further you can build up. But if one actually falls, most likely the remaining will also fall, and you have to do it all over again. So this is the same principle here. For me, the concept was immediately eye-catching. And you remember the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray? Do you remember seeing it? This is from the early 90s.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I simply love the
That
movie.
immediately popped in mind.
Exactly. I mean, and while I was growing up, I always felt very drawn to this kind of story and themes. Moreover, not only we have the theme of time loops, but the whole ambience of the movie is inspired on the art and work of very famous and influential film directors like Stanley Kubrick, as I just mentioned, but also David Fincher. Now, I'm gonna guess you have no idea about movies from Stanley Kubrick and David Fincher. Do you know any of the movies from the directors that I'm talking about?
Not from head, no.
No, really, you're a shame. I mean, you're a disgrace
am.
for this channel. I'm gonna tell
You need to give me more time to think.
Oh,
I'm not
God.
that
David
fast getting
Fincher.
it through the names.
David Fincher, Seven, Fight Club, Panic Room, Zodiac. I mean, most recently you saw something from him that you don't even know it's from him. Love, Death and Robots on Netflix.
Oh,
That's
Didn't
him.
know that.
That's him. Yes, that's David Fincher. Stanley Kubrick. You have the Clockwork Orange. Clockwork Orange. Sorry, that's the. I mean, you have The Shining. Obviously, here's Johnny. I mean, obviously, you know The Shining. But for me, one of my favorite movies of Stanley Kubrick is Full Metal Jacket, and you saw it. I'm sure that you saw it. It's a great movie. If you didn't, watch all these movies because you're missing out. Now, back to the game. If this story and the team wasn't already good enough, we have the voice cast, and I think that this was the cherry on top of the cake. The people that they went to get to do the voice cast of this. So, on the voice of the husband, we have James McAvoy. If you don't know who he is, he's the newest Professor Xavier in the newest Young X-Men. So, the newest series of X-Men movies that just came out. Daisy Ridley, our newest Jedi from the latest Star Wars trilogy. And in the role of the cop, the one and only Willem Dafoe. And I don't really need to tell you who Willem Dafoe is, because if you don't know, you better just watch the movies with it. And I think that William as the cop, I mean, I like James McAvoy.
He
And
just nailed it as a cop.
I mean,
Seriously.
he did. The voice that he brought up, the scary tone of voice that he has, that is very low pitched and paced. I mean, it's just so wonderful, and he really gives us the fear that we need in this game, especially coming from the voice of the cop, because I mean he's the antagonist in this whole game. I mean he's the one that we will have to progress through and make sure that every time he comes into our house we do something different from him and result in a set of actions that will allow us to progress further into the loop. So, and this for me is very important because it's where games really shine, especially adventure games, is when the voice acting is good. I mean, look at, you know, great examples like Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis with the voice acting. I mean, that's really great. It really brought a lot of, you know, value and a lot of depth into the game. While if you look at, for example, the first Monkey Islands, they were great games, but there was no voices there. I mean, this was floppy disk games. There was no possibility of digitized speech, and it was just simply amazing. I'm not going to dwell deep on this game because I think you guys really should play it. This is available on Game Pass. It was actually released on Game Pass, and for the, I don't know, €5 that the Game Pass PC is available to. I think that you guys, if you just sign it up just to get this game and play it, it's already worth it. I mean, the game is worth much more than that, considering the voice.
Such a good game, and have some time when you try this one because it will suck you in immediately. You can bet on it.
It does. And it was exactly what happened to me. I started playing this game, and I had. I mean, I'll tell you this. I started playing this game. It was around 2 in the morning. It was. I think it was a Friday night. And I was like, okay, I'll just play a couple of minutes. I just want to see. I mean, the game says 12 minutes, so I thought, okay, so I know the concept is based on a time loop, so I'll just do some loops and see how this goes. And it was 4:45 in the morning when I just finished playing it. So it was like, it's like with games that you like. I mean, you play for 10 minutes and you look at the clock and 3 hours have gone through. So that's the thing about this. It's really worth it. I mean, if you want to buy it, you also have the chance of buying it. But Game Pass, available on Game Pass, you should really try it. Congratulations to Luis Antonio. He did a fantastic work on this game. I guess that this is basically his experience of working in Rockstar Games, in Ubisoft, before he actually had his joint venture. He actually spent many years, he started developing this, or the whole general idea started in 2012, and it took many years to develop this, but I think that the actual product came out really good. And I think some developers should take a lesson from Luis that sometimes you really need to take your time with games to make sure that you do something great instead of releasing half-assed, unfinished versions of some games that are AAA titles. But now I'm going into criticism of some game developers, and I don't want to do that because one day we might have a sponsor that that we don't want to talk about. You know who I'm talking about, you guys from... no, I'm not gonna say it. That's fine.
No, don't say it. But just start releasing complete games and don't sell the fixes afterwards as DLC. Okay?
I wish things were like in the past, where we had a game that would be released and it was complete and you unlock everything by playing it.
Yeah, and it had bugs and you just had to live with them because there were no updates. And
you know,
glitches. It was so much fun.
They would not be bugs. They would not be bugs. They would be features.
Oh,
that's what they call it.
Cool
that
features.
Wouldn't be bugs, they would be features. Anyways, guys, we're getting to the end of this. So before we actually go, we want to ask you, as usually we say, leave a like if you like, leave a dislike if you didn't like. Consider subscribing your channel. You already know what to do. We really need your help to continue providing you this amazing content. I mean, we think it's amazing, but you guys be the judge of that.
We have to believe that.
Yeah, we have to believe that. Otherwise, we don't have the motivation to get out of bed and doing this. Or do this before going to bed, which is usually what happens most of the time. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for being there with us. We hope you had a great week. We hope you guys will have a great week ahead. And we'll see each other next week. And game on.
See everyone next week. Game on.